Hey guys, so one thing I was thinking about recently is there are so many knots out there that you either don't need to know or you do need to know. Too basic, you know, there's some that do the same things as others. There are a couple basic knots that if you're doing bass fishing, you're saltwater fishing, you know, you can use it for every application. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about the two knots that I recommend everybody knowing, and they're knots you probably already know, but just being on the safe side for those who are just getting into it or don't know it. It kind of covers all your bases. First knot is the loop knot, and this knot right here, it basically is open so that the whether it be your hook or your live baiting, some people like using it for live baiting, whether you are wanting that bait fish to move around very freely as much as possible in, like, say, a no current situation, you want it to kind of just do its own thing, or if you are throwing artificials, it's very helpful. Any bait that you want to move around a lot, like this Mirrodine for instance, I'm gonna throw a loop knot on here because whenever I move that line, I want it to be able to do whatever it's gonna do action-wise in the water. Another very important one is topwater. Depending on which topwater you're throwing, if you're bass fishing, you're throwing a frog, or you're throwing like a horny toad or something that you just is moving in a straight line, or a buzz bait, something that you just want to move in a straight line, I don't necessarily recommend tying this knot. But if you're throwing a walk the dog action type lure, like a spook, it's a must-have. And so I'm going to show you how to tie it real quick. It's really not that difficult. Now the loop knot is very easy to tie. I believe the one I use is called the canoe loop knot, but it's literally one of the simplest knots and one of the strongest knots that I know to tie. All you do is start off with a granny knot, or overhand knot, or whatever you want to call it. Just literally just put it a loop, make a loop. That's it. Make sure your tag end, you got a bit to work with right there. You see, I got about 1.5 inches. That's plenty to work with. Then you get your bait, your artificial, whatever you want to do, wherever you put that line, you get the tag end and you put it through like that. Now you got your loop, and you get your tag end, and that loop you made, you put the tag in through the loop once and twice, and you can do it a couple ways. You can grab both, or you can just grab your main end and just pull it. What it'll do is it'll cinch down on itself, and then you cut that tag end. And what this ends up doing is creates, you see how it's the knot's up here, and you got that loop where there's all this free space right here. That way that bait can move around as freely as it wants to, and you're not going to run into any issues with it. You know, if you make it too big, the hook's going to get caught up on itself. So the bigger you make it, the loop itself, the more of a chance you have of snagging yourself, which you don't want that. So you want the loop to be small, but you want it enough that you can move around. You make it almost as small as you want. You can make it half the size. You can make it a little bigger, but the bigger the loop is, the more of a chance of the hooks, especially treble hooks, hanging on themselves. So that's how I tie a loop knot. The next knot you need to know is, everyone should know it just because it is a simple, but it does everything. You can use it to tie leader to leader, like a braid to a mono. You can use it to tie mono to mono if you want to, or mono to fluoro. Whatever it is you want to tie. You can also use it to tie up a bait that you don't necessarily want a loop knot. You don't want all that movement. If you want it to be just straight to the hook, most live baiters will use it, and that is the uni knot. Uni knot's extremely simple, and there's pretty much only one way to tie it, but and then the uni to uni is for your leaders, and I'm going to show you how to tie both of those real quick. It's super simple, but it's the same knot on either side. Now uni knot is not too difficult. It's a little bit more difficult than the loop knot is to tie, but the steps are obviously going to be a little different. Get your tag end and you put it through like you start a normal knot. What I like to do is just give myself enough room to play with. I'll give myself about an inch, because you can make the knot the size you want it to be. You know, you can work with the tag end and everything. So what I do first is I get the tag end, and then you have the lines right next to each other, and I make only a loop with the tag end. So now I have both the loop and the main line going straight out, and you can see right here how the loop and the main line are right next to each other. Your tag end's right here. So what I do is I get the tag end and go around the main line and around the loop I just made, and you go through the loop, so around and through the loop. So I do that once, around and through the loop, twice, and most of the time I'll do it 3 times. And then once you get that in there, you grab the tag end and you pull it, and it cinches down, not unlike it'll look like a loop knot at first, so it cinches down on itself after you grab that tag end. Then you grab the main line and pull, and what it does is that slack will get cinched through the knot, and once it hits the eye, you just make sure you cinch it down, and there you go. That created a uni knot. Very simple. And you cut that tag end off. There you go. You cut that tag end off, and this is what most people use for their regular hooks, but sometimes people like to put it on artificials. It just depends on what type. Like I said, swim baits and stuff, for the most part, I'll throw a uni knot on there. For hooks, I'll usually just throw a uni knot on there. Alright, so this is going to be the uni to uni knot. Now, this is where you want to tie your leaders together, whether it be mono to mono, braid to mono, braid to fluoro, whatever it is. It's mostly a braid to a leader knot. It's pretty simple. You follow the same sort of instructions basically as you would for tying a uni knot. You lay your 2 lines across each other. So you get your fluoro and your braid and your mono laying across each other. Give yourself a little bit of room to work with. Then all you got to do to start off, you can start with whatever end you like. Grab it in the middle. That'll give you a little bit of a guesstimate on how much extra slack you need in whatever side. So I got my main line going down, which is my braid this time. Get your tag end, which is going to be my fluoro, and I make a loop. Same thing I did before, except it's going to be the braid as the main line. You go around the braid and around the fluoro through the loop. Do that once, twice, 3 times. Pull it tight and pinch it down just so it gets nice and tight on there. Now instead of pulling it to cinch it down, you go to the other side. Now I got to get a little bit of slack from the braid, which you can pull through still, just so I have a little bit of room to work with. And you can even flip it over if you like, if that makes it easier for you. Some people will flip it over. I can do it from the other side, but you grab it in the middle, right where your other knot would be. Now your tag end's going to be your braid, and your main knot's going to be your mono or fluoro. You make a loop, and your tag end goes through the loop, so around back through the loop. And with the braid, because it's a smaller diameter and it takes a little bit more to grip it, you do more loops. I like to do 6 to 7, sometimes more if I can get it. So I go through the loop once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times should be enough on this one. You can really just judge it yourself, whatever you feel is strong enough. So you see how it's looped around a bunch, then you get the tag in, Just pull it tight. It'll cinch down and it'll create a small knot because it's the braid this time. So you got your, this is the knot from your fluoro or mono, whatever your leader is. This is the knot from the braid. You grab both ends and you pull. And you see how they're getting closer and closer. Boom. They meet in the middle. And you just cinch it down. You just pull tight on either side. And then you got to cut your tag ends off. Now I use my teeth to cut the tag ends off of this one, which I don't suggest you do. But you get an idea. It's not that big of a knot. And it's just your good basic overall line-to-line knot. So I want to thank you guys for watching. I hope that was helpful. It's one of those things where if you have those two knots down, you pretty much don't need to know any other ones unless you're in a very specific application. I will tie an FG knot. That's a little bit more complicated, and there's only certain times I'll tie that, you know. But your basic, all you need to know knots, uni, and loop knot. Very simple, but important and useful knots. So thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe, and comment, and I hope this helped. If you want me to do more how-tos and tutorials and stuff like I just did, leave a like, comment, you know, whatever you guys are having. If you guys are having problems with, you know, a certain method or want to learn a certain method that I might know or you've seen me use before, please let me know, and I will try my best to do a video on them. There's a whole bunch of other stuff like this that, you know, sometimes I just don't even think about being something that I had to learn. It's just something I've known for such a long time that I didn't really think about. So again, like, subscribe, and comment. I appreciate all the views and all the comments and all the love I'm getting from you guys, and I hope this helped. You all have a good rest of your day.